Hey everyone, I've been asked recently to compare the mainstream political parties in the UK, Conservatives, Liberal Democrats, Labour, if we're looking at the national parties, with the political parties in the US. People have even said to me in the past, well, Conservatives are on the right and Labour are on the left, and Republicans are on the right and Democrats are on the left, so clearly Conservatives are like Republicans and Democrats are like Labour. And it's not actually like that at all. It's difficult because comparing the parties from one country and the other isn't like comparing roast potatoes and boiled potatoes. It's more like comparing rice with chips, or for any American viewers, rice with fries. This is because we're not comparing political parties. We're comparing parties in two different political systems. So America, on the whole, is miles to the right, that's my right of the UK, and the rest of Europe for that matter. I mean, if you think of the left wing as being people who want to see government involvement in more facets of society, and people on the right who want to take a more libertarian approach and have greater emphasis on the individual rather than the collective. Take health, for example. In Britain, we have a national health service. We basically nationalised healthcare. That's a settled question. None of the mainstream political parties are talking about doing anything different there. You go over to the US, and everything in healthcare pretty much is privatised. People have to buy private health insurance. If you don't have health insurance, like if you didn't have home and contents insurance in the UK and your home flooded, you couldn't claim back for the things you lost. You'd have to buy them. In the US, you'd have to buy your operation if you didn't have the right insurance. Attempts to provide nationalised healthcare, known as Obamacare, in just a small portion of the whole, were resisted greatly by a vast number of people who felt that it was an egregious affront to their liberties. So, okay, if you don't want to break it down policy by policy to try and find out where two countries are on a political spectrum, easy litmus test is look at the tax system. If a government wants to spend more, it needs to raise more money. So generally speaking, the more left-wing a country is, the more it raises in taxes. In the UK, for example, somebody earning £43,000 a year will be in the 40% tax bracket. That equivalent amount in the US would land you slap bang in the middle of the 25% tax bracket. You're going to tax a lot less in America because the government needs to generate less revenue, because it needs to spend less, because generally speaking they are not as, I don't want to use the word socialist, but not as left-wing as in the UK. So how does this translate to the political parties? Well, if you drew a line from left to right, left wing, right wing, and you plotted on it the UK's main political parties, it may look something like this. So you'd have Labour on the left, Lib Dems somewhere to the right of them, Conservatives somewhere to the right of them. Now, this is highly subjective. All of these parties will claim that they are on the centre ground of politics. But in reality, Labour's probably off to the left, Lib Dems centre left, Conservatives centre right. If we then transpose the US parties onto this same line, it may look something like this. So although Democrats are on the left of the US politics, they're probably somewhere similar to the modern Conservative Party in the UK. The Republicans miles off to the right, Labour and Lib Dems miles off to the left. But this isn't the whole picture, because within parties there are scales as well. So, for example, in the modern Labour Party, this massive coalition of people from a broad spectrum of political views, you have Jeremy Corbyn and Tony Blair in the same party. These guys have no business being in the same party as each other, arguably Blair should have left the Labour Party with Roy Jenkins et al. In the 1970s. He didn't. He dragged the party to the right in the 1990s, early 2000s. Corbyn's arguably taking it back to where it started. But Blair is probably stronger aligned to the Lib Dems than to most of Labour now. Now, let's put onto this spectrum, say, Bernie Sanders, who we know stood for the Democratic candidacy for the presidency in 2016. He was seen as a radical left-wing, he calls himself a socialist candidate, and he really was something that America had never seen before, really far off to their left. He would probably come somewhere around here. He would fit nicely into the Blairite wing of the Labour Party, which is right on the right of the Labour Party. But then, okay, he is the left, so all other Democrats are probably to the right of him. If you look at the Republican Party, the most moderate, high-profile Republican I can think of is Chris Christie. He's probably on the left of the Republican Party, and he'd be somewhere around here. He'd fit in nicely in the Conservatives in the UK. But we have nothing in this country that compares with, for example, Michelle Bachmann from the Tea Party movement in the Republican Party. These are really far right. There's nothing mainstream in the UK that would compare. But likewise, there is nothing in America that would come anywhere near Jeremy Corbyn's views. And this means that, yes, we can say Republicans right, Democrats left, Conservatives right, Labour left, but really we're not comparing like for like. The societies are completely different. So I hope that sheds a little bit of light on the situation. Not much, I suppose. But yeah, please keep your questions coming. Anything you have that you want to ask, if it's in my power to answer it, I will do my best. I hope that made sense. Please do give me a thumbs up. And as always, do subscribe. Any comments you have, leave them below or tweet at Adam D. Wordsworth. I will read and answer anything that comes along. In the meantime, enjoy what comes over the coming days. And as always, I will catch you at the next one.